Talk about the famous artist named Pablo Picasso. I'm going to talk about his education. He first started to paint when he was 8 years old. Like many children, he would make drawings, but these were very different to today's children's drawings. Psychology studies, by nature, it's not a children's intention to clearly depict a natural object. And today, children are left to draw freely. When Picasso was young, children would expect to try to draw as closely to nature as possible, just like mature artists would draw and paint. From the age 5 onwards, Pablo would get drawing lessons at school in Malaga. Children were taught to make drawings based on simple geometric forms, to which more detail was added until an accurate image of the subject resulted. This highly systematic approach to art would develop Picasso's remarkable sense of space and geometry and lay a foundation for the ease with which he would later be able to characterize an object with a single line. As Picasso's father was an art teacher, he would take full control of Pablo's education in art. He gave him lessons and sent him to schools where he was working as a teacher himself. As an artist, Pablo's father would specialize in painting animals. The least valued genre in his time, the most valued genre were history pieces, as well as portraitism, and under the influence of his father, Pablo Picasso would concentrate on these subjects. Pablo's father would even use his influence with local newspapers to promote his son's work, as well as with jury members of art contests in which Pablo participated. In 1891, Picasso's father got a new job at the art school called Instituto Taboada in La Coruna, to where the family moved, and in 1892, Pablo joined his father at the Instituto Taboada as a student. For 3 years, Pablo enjoyed a classical art education which started with the copying of basic forms. The use of geometric forms was used to create a simplified form of the natural object, and by using that basis, more detail was added in several highly systematic stages. In 1895, his father was appointed at the Art Academy La Lonja in Barcelona, where again he was joined by Pablo. Picasso's father promoted Pablo's independence by renting him a studio in Barcelona. With the financial aid of his uncles, Pablo goes to study in Madrid at the end of 1897. In La Coruna and Malaga, Pablo had already received a true education, and because Madrid has nothing new to offer him, he decided to quit in the mid-1898. When at age 16, the Madrid Academy of Fine Arts failed to improve his standards. And continuing his education in Munich wasn't an option. And the young Pablo Picasso reached the dead end. In modern art, he would find a way to use his strength, his imagination, his sense of poetry, and his ability to spot artistic innovations and incorporate them into his work. When he spent most of his time in Paris between 1900 and 1904, he had some difficult years without earning enough from his art. But there was no turning back. Picasso was the boy genius who had grown disinterested in classical art.
I'm Kauthar, and I'm going to talk to you about Pablo Picasso's work. Pablo Picasso is mostly renowned for his unique style of drawing, painting, but most of all, the way he interprets the world. You must have heard of Cubism, right? But what is it? Cubism is an early 20th century style and movement in art, especially painting, in which perspective with a single viewpoint was abandoned. Well, did you know that there are two types of Cubism? One being analytic, which was partly developed by George Braque along with Picasso, and the second being synthetic Cubism. Picasso has never stuck to one style though. Following the upheaval of World War I, Picasso changed to neoclassic style. This period is often described as his return to order. Picasso had a signature style at that time. It was a Minotaur, which partly came from his contract with the Surrealists, who would often use it as a symbol. But before the 1930s, where he would use the Minotaur, his signature style was the Harlequin. Moreover, Pablo Picasso's most famous work is his depiction of the German bombing of Guernica during Spanish World War. He tried to embody inhumanity, brutality, cruelty, and hopelessness of the war. Most interesting part is when Picasso was asked to interpret his work, he would often answer that it isn't up to the painter to define the symbol, otherwise it would be better to write them out in words. It is to the public and audience to understand the meaning of it. Most of his work was displayed all over the world but in the 1980s they started returning to the home country, that is Spain.
So I'm gonna talk about the top 10 most famous art of Pablo Picasso. The Three Musicians. This art is now in the New York Museum of Modern Art. It is painted by Pablo Picasso while he was with his young family in Fontainebleau in the summer in 1921. This art is a very big art. It is more than 2 meters high and 2 meters wide. Picasso paints three musicians made of flat, brightly colored, abstract shape in a shallow, box-like room. On the left is a clarinet player, in the middle a guitar player, and on the right a singer holding sheets of music. They are dressed as familiar figures: parrot, harlequin, and friar. Girl Before a Mirror. The painting was painted in March 1932. The girl name was Marie-Thérèse Walter and was painted by Pablo Picasso a few times in the 1930s. Closely at the image, you can interpret many different symbols within different parts of the painting. The woman's face, for one, is painted with a side profile and a full frontal image. One side shows the daytime where she seems more like a woman. The other side, with the rough charcoal texture, portrays her at night. The Old Guitarist. It was painted right after the suicide death of Picasso's close friend Casademus in 1903. It was created in Madrid, and its disordered style reminiscent the work of El Greco. In the painting of his Blue period, Pablo Picasso restricted himself to a cold, monochromatic blue palette, flattened forms, and emotional psychological theme of human misery and alienation related to the works of such artists as Edvard Munch and Paul Gauguin. Seated Woman. It was created in the starting of an amazing prolific year, which Pablo Picasso created a lot of powerful artworks like Guernica in 1937. And then he returned back to his technique of red and green polarization to add a further dimension: animation. The influence of his young love and muse had recharged him, and he became a legend in his own lifetime. This painting has a sense of harlequinade as strong bright bands of color are arranged so that the dress appears like a costume. The figure may also resemble a queen court card from a deck of playing cards whose imagery is often designed with stripes and banding creatively reversed on the same plane. Dora Ma Orchard. It is painted by Pablo Picasso in 1941. It is one of Pablo Picasso's most valued depictions of his love and artistic companion. The picture is also remarkable for its brilliance of color and the complex and the dense of patterning of the model's dress. The painting was one of many portraits of Dora Maar painted by Pablo Picasso over the nearly decade-long relationship. Picasso fell in love with the 36-year-old Ma at the age of 55 and soon began living with her. In the 1940s, the painting was obtained by Chicago collectors League and Mary Broad. They sold the painting in 1963. After that, the painting was never shown until the 21st century. Now I will pass my time to my friend Lance to talk about the other 5 famous art of Pablo Picasso.
Picasso was famous, and anyone and everyone could recognize him no matter where he went. But Picasso's wife didn't like the attention. She didn't like the fact that her privacy was gone because of Picasso's fame. She left in 1955. She described Picasso as a talented painter, but was a cruel egomaniac and would like to show off his woman. Another reason she left him was because she felt as though she was a prize that was left on the shelf. Picasso was furious and vowed to never see her or his children again. In 1973, on the 8th of April, Pablo Picasso died due to influenza complications. Jacqueline took care of his work for 8 years, but after that, she could not live any longer without Picasso, and she took her own life by committing suicide. Picasso was at a depressing stage of his life when he met Jacqueline, who inspired him to put positive vibes back into his paintings. In 1961, Picasso married Jacqueline, who, like him, was also divorced. Jacqueline was taking care of an old fragile Picasso, as Picasso needed her support for medical reasons, and Jacqueline also needed him for emotional support. Picasso may have been an influential artist, but there's a darker side to him, which is talent and not art. He was too absorbed and too proud of his work. Picasso was not afraid of expressing his emotions and didn't want his paintings to be sold, but perhaps express himself in a different way. Pablo Picasso is one of the most distinguished artists during the Spanish Civil War. Picasso's passion to experiment and his fearless use of different styles led to innovations that had a great impact on contemporary artists and made his name throughout the world. Picasso was an innovative and ever-changing artist who was constantly changing his styles, trying out new things to impress others. As a man, he challenged the traditional views of the way we